at first you're like, oh, is this going to be Monster of the Week? Is this going to be just, oh, this is a horror character every week and a new one comes to light and someone new is dealing with it and then they're all kind of coming together to figure it out. And in a sense, it has been. Hey everybody, welcome back to Epic Media Adventure, your home for the nostalgia of yesterday and tomorrow. And today we're diving a little more into the tomorrow side of it. We're talking about the new Apple TV series, Widow's Bay. I am Scott Taylor. Here with me, as always, Mr. Steven Garcia. Steve, how's it going?
Pretty good, man. Fantastic. How are you guys doing? I'm itching to get into this because I've been watching this for a while and I wanted to kind of get some people into this. I thought it was great, so I'm glad that we're talking about it. I'm itching for this. Let's go.
Yeah, you put me onto the show. So it's Widow's Bay. It just started a couple weeks ago. They dropped the first 2 episodes and then at once, and then which is smart, and we can talk about that.
Yeah.
And then now we're up through episode 4. By the time this comes out, 5 might be released. But I think there's 10 total episodes, and I am blown away by the entire series. You know, you and I are both horror fans, dry comedy fans, and I feel like it mixes those two things. I feel like the first 2 episodes dropping right at once was great because it built a lot of the world. For those of you that haven't watched this yet, there are going to be spoilers, so please go. Just you're not going to be disappointed by it. Watch episodes 1 through 4, and then come back to us. Yeah. But the first 2 episodes just build such a universe. It grounds all the characters. It shows you that this is a real place that we're dealing with. These are real issues, and that it's kind of like a Stephen King town where everyone needs therapy, right? It's really what it is. What were your thoughts on the first couple episodes when you jumped into them?
Oh, I was kind of blindsided by it because I was expecting something. Well, I didn't know what to expect because I didn't hear anything about it until after the fact, after I saw the first 2 episodes. And I thought, I was like going into it like, well, I like, I like a couple of the stars. Matthew Reese, is that his? I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I think I saw him in the HBO.
I think it's Reese, like
Reese.
as in Kyle from the not as good Terminator movie.
Yeah, I saw him in Perry Mason on HBO. I saw the first season of that, and I was really impressed by him. Didn't know, and he'd been around a while, but so when this came out, I was really hoping that it was going to be something creepy, I guess, or something like supernatural. And it hit that. It scratched that itch. And it also was really funny, quirky, I would say, more so than like outright funny. But it's really it blends really well. It doesn't. One part doesn't negate, like the comedy doesn't negate the creepiness, and then when it's creepy, it doesn't negate the comedy. And it's just, I just love it. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's written, or it's created by one of the writers from Parks and Recs, and we'll probably get into that a little bit. But yeah, it was. I was genuinely surprised and pleasantly surprised, and it was. I was off after that first episode. I was just off, and I wanted to see more. And it's one of those where when the episode ends, first of all, it doesn't seem like it doesn't drag. It's paced really well, and when it ends, you're like, "Oh, that's it." Okay, what happens next week? So, I love those types of shows. What about you? What were your initial thoughts when you first watched, or when you heard about it?
Yeah, when you told me about it, and you said, "Oh, it's from it's like the writer from Parks and Rec, right? One of the writers from there," and I was like, "Oh, okay." So I pitched it to my wife as it's like Parks and Rec meets horror, and she was like, "I'm not a big Parks and Rec fan, that type of show and humor." But then as we watched it, it's like, no, it's not comedy horror. It's horror with a little bit of dry humor in it.
Yeah.
From what I saw in interviews, the creator, the pilot episode is pretty much the writing sample that they gave to get signed on to Parks and Rec.
Oh.
Except it was more comedy. There was more comedy there, and she wanted to ground it when it was its own show. They're like, it can't just be like comedy for the sake of comedy. But
Right.
when she wrote it, it was meant to be show her style of comedy and her humor sense to Michael Schur.
Yeah.
And then she paired that back because she's such a horror fan. She just wanted to be horror with a little bit of comedy in there.
Yeah.
But the humor that I get out of it, it's really dry. It's a look. It's more of me kind of getting the subcontext of a joke without it actually being said, or me relating to a person and how they're acting
Yes.
versus people in my real life. And like, oh, I know that person, you know, and you
Give me
pick up
an
on that.
Give me an example, because I have an example of that, exact what you're saying. Do you have an example of that, or do you?
I think
like,
the
right off
biggest
top?
example is I don't know the character. I'm horrible with character names too, but it's the office worker that's big in episode 4.
Oh, Patricia. Yeah.
Patricia, yeah. So the Patricia, like the things that she would say in the first episode or two, I'm like, oh yeah, I get who she is. I understand. I understand her from the jump. She like she wants the attention.
Yeah.
You know, but she just doesn't get it in kind of the right way.
For me, it was when Wick sounds the alarm and Tom has to go, hey, I'll give you 5 minutes. And so they go to the bar to talk. And he goes, I don't want you correcting my grammar or whatever. And he goes, I don't feel like I need to go tit for tit with you. And you see Tom go. And that was to me like exactly what you were talking about and exactly the appeal of what it is. And you're correct in saying when I say comedy, it's not exactly like slapstick or obvious. It's more of the day-to-day grind of dealing with people that really you don't fit with, and it's constantly trying to navigate that. And I think Tom Loftis, who plays the mayor, or Michael Reese, who plays the mayor, or Matthew Reese, sorry, plays the mayor, and I feel like he is the conduit to which the audience kind of runs through the show, and he starts the beginning of the series. The first episode is as kind of like this. Oh God, I'm surrounded by idiots. But as the show goes on, it kind of gives context to the surrounding characters, and that's what I love about that is how it builds all that stuff, as opposed to just having kind of like one sane person amongst all these quirky people, and that's where the humor lies, and the dry humor, like you were saying, and mixing in the creepiness factor, and mixing in the town, the dark history of the town, within those sound bites that happen within the scene, and it's great. It's constant, and like I said, it's great. It's perfectly paced, and it's just it's so fun to watch. You just have fun watching it because you're constantly being bombarded without it being obvious. And so when I finish an episode, I'm like, God, I missed some stuff. I gotta go back and watch it again. And that's where I'm at. So it's great.
Yeah, my wife will. After watching like episode 3, I think she was like, you know, she's like, I get the humor. She's like, I don't laugh out loud like you are because I'm cackling at certain things, and it's more that I see where it's going and I'm laughing at that, or I see a personality trait in someone coming out, and I'm just laughing out loud. She's like, I get kind of the humor of it, but it's also a show that I don't feel like you can be sitting there on your phone and watching it.
Yeah.
Specifically, you know, once we get into talking about, you know, a little bit more in sequence of the episodes, episode 4, there's a lot of little things that you can pick up on as you're going through that. I had to pause and go, did you see that? She's like, what? I was like, no. And I went backwards, and then I showed, no, keep watching. And then she saw some moments in it. So it's great from the horror's perspective. I feel like, yes, at first you're like, oh, is this going to be Monster of the Week? Is this going to be just, oh, this is a horror character every week and a new one comes to light and someone new is dealing with it, and then they're all kind of coming together to figure it out. And in a sense, it has been, right? But it hasn't been Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like
Right.
enemy of the week, creature of the week. It's building a little universe of this island and all these things that come out.
Yeah. Yeah, you see it building the arc of the season, the story arc. And go ahead. Go ahead. Continue.
Yeah, as soon as they were talking about all the horrible stuff and the historical society and all the bad stuff that happened, and they're like, "Oh, it's just about to get into the witch trials." It's like, found them, burned them. I just love that, 'cause they're just so proud of their history, and that was the most positive thing they could come out with. And all these little things that you hear pay off. You hear about these stories. Episode 2, you've got them trying to. Everyone hates the mayor, right? Because the mayor's he's off the island. He was born off the island, and he's an outsider. But he's been voted, unopposed to be the not really the mayor, but it's called the protector of the island.
Yeah,
and just historically, it's been the protector of the island because these things happen, and nobody likes him. He's trying too hard to make it a tourist spot, to make it more than it is.
Yeah.
And everyone else has kind of just lured into the, look, this is what it is. Let's just enjoy it. Just live your life, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, I think that's the rub of the series. I think is this idea that the people on the island understand what's going on and understand or kind of know by heart the kind of past history of what the island has gone through. And here's this guy who spent his summers on the island because his dad lived there, and when his dad passed away, he kind of moves in, and now he, like you said, he runs unopposed to become the mayor, and so he doesn't really get the underlying creepiness of the island, because he does want to modernize the island because it has no Wi-Fi. It has no cell reception.
There's no cappuccino machine.
Yeah.
He's like, get a cappuccino machine. He's like, we're not really selling any of these.
Exactly. And he's like, yeah, but you're going to. And so I think in the first episode, he gets this writer from the New York Times to come out. And that's the whole premise of the first episode was for me, I was like, oh, okay, so it's just an old island, and he wants people to come in. But as the episode unfolds, you start to realize that that the disconnect that he has. I mean, because all the people in the island are really trying to sell him on this idea, not sell him, but trying to convince him of this idea of like, well, the island is waking up, and spoiler alert, the whole series starts out with this kind of earthquake that happens on this island. And then after that, all these Wick, who's played by Stephen Root, who was great in Dodgeball and Office Space, and who is one of the local fishermen, I guess, he comes to Tom and he says the island's waking up. You have to shut down the island, and so Tom's in the midst of this, like trying to sell this island to this New York Times writer. So there becomes the rub, and that kind of carries on into episode after episode. And that first episode is him just drawing a line and saying, no, this is not, this isn't real. This is real. Here's what's real. And, he's slowly losing that battle. And I think in the fourth episode, he kind of comes to terms with the fact that, okay, I can't fight this anymore. So that's where I'm interested, because it takes 4 episodes to get there, and it's great because it's not filler episodes. None of the first 4 episodes are filler, to me anyways. And so I'm excited about where this is going to go now, because it's teased, and there's some things that happen throughout each episode that convince him, supernatural stuff. And by 4, he's like, we'll talk about it, but I think that's where the series kind of blows wide open, and now we're kind of going to get into the meat and bones of the series. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, we talk about tropes a lot, you and I, and on the pod and off, and just movies and similarities between them, and just the plots are so similar in a lot of things. And the trope of having your moment, and then all these things start to throw you off of that moment, is just a perfect opening episode of the show. He's trying his best to do everything he can. He's finally got this guy there to get him some publicity, and everything is going wrong. So like you put, like Dwight Schrute once said, you put the money beats up front.
Yeah.
Right? That's what gets people to pull over. And so he's reorganizing people when he needs to. It's the same thing there, and from the jump you get those characters. It does. I am happy that they put out the first two at once, because I can kind of see it as one. You might be like, okay, something's going on here. The second one, you kind of see that no, there's definitely stuff going on here. Because the second episode, you get into the mayor. Kind of the townspeople wanted him to prove himself, and wanting him to stay overnight in the inn. and again, you just get all these horror tropes, which is what all horror is. It's a bunch of different tropes, and you just tweak them. I think that's part of why I like horror movies, is because there's a familiarity there. There's a call and response there of these tropes, and the second episode is just filled with them. They're just naming off all these things that happened in the bed and breakfast inn.
An actual list, yes.
Yeah, and he's writing them down. They're like, okay, you want our respect? You want us to believe you and follow you? Then you got to do this. You got to get to the end of the crawl space. No, you got to get to the end. You got to touch the back wall. And you got to go in this room and do this thing. You got to go in the closet and say this scary word 3 times.
Yeah, that was, and that it. Even before the first episode sets up what you were talking about, to your point, is that he's trying to kind of draw these people in, and he's hoping that this article will do that, which it seems like it does. We don't get to that until the third episode, but what it does is it creates kind of fodder for the rest of the episode, because if it was just going to happen in the townspeople, well, they've already been through this for all through the centuries here, and so you kind of have to have that fresh meat, and so they do that by having the tourists come in and kind of open up that list, and kind of going through the episode, you kind of pick up the kind of the small things in it, and you start to realize, like you said, and you made it's a great point of, like, horror is just a bunch of these tropes, and it's how you execute those tropes is kind of what the success of what you're doing is. And I think that's what they do here really well, is that they're going, okay, look, here's all this stuff that normally happens, and here, it's going to happen in this way or whatever, and you can kind of see it coming, but like you said, the execution of it is really spot on, and it really kind of just even the aftermath of all that, not so much the scary, the creepy factor of it is obvious, and it's well done, but it's even after the fact when they get the innkeeper to go, hey, why don't you go in there? And he's like, what? Yeah, for 10 seconds, we'll count. And he goes, and they shut the door, and they count to 10. They open the door, and he's like, I thought you said 10 seconds. Just little things like that are kind of reminding you that it's not just the mayor that's going to have to, or that these things happen to, but it's good. It's already there, and the people know, and they're just trying to ignore it. And, that's the real gem of this series, for me anyways, so far.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's such a small island. It's such a Stephen King-esque location, and you kind of get right into that with even episode 3, right? Kind of gets into the actual meat and potatoes of what's going on, and these horrors that you see with the mayor having to do the swim, and just starting to live. He's like, this is starting to happen to me. Things are going to start happening to me now. And he's just got all these things thrown at him. It's the hero getting what he wants in the worst way possible.
Well, it's kind of symbolic in the way of, like I said before, Tom is kind of the audience. We're kind of seeing this town through his eyes, and when stuff starts happening to him to convince him, we're kind of getting carried into that of, like, oh no, this is real. We're kind of realizing along with Tom that this is going to be a losing battle, and can fight it, but look at all this, the sea hag and all this other stuff that kind of happens in the hotel and the captain's suite, and then what happens in episode 4, which is again, it just kind of blew the lid off of the series for me, and it was like, okay, I can't wait for the rest of the episodes, and can't wait to talk about that one specifically. So yeah.
Yeah, they get to episode 3, and you get into the actual horror of it. You're seeing, the stuff go down. Actually, you see him getting haunted. There's the lore of the sea hag.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going on first. Then, of course, Stephen Root describes what's going on. He's like, "No, I know. I know exactly what's going on." And then you get the comeuppance, and then you also have the hero losing the girl. He's met this tourist girl, and even as a viewer, you're like, is she the hag? Is she not the hag? Like, what's going on? The thing I love about going from episode 3 to 4 is that 4 just goes back in time, right?
Yeah.
4 goes back a couple days, and it spends a whole episode focused on one person, just on Patricia. I texted you that, it was just a masterclass. The whole episode was great. It was its own little confined horror movie in there with all these little pieces and all these little nuances that you want to go back and rewatch again to be like, oh yeah, there's that. That's what was happening there. Okay.
Yeah.
The specific thing that I was talking to my wife about was, they're at the party and she makes the punch for everybody and they all drink it and everyone's treating her differently now as just, a fan of hers, and you're watching her dance in the center of these people and they're so happy, and as it pans, it just does the thing where it goes by different bodies, right? And so normally that would happen to be a cut, a chance for the editor to cut. And it gets to past the next person, and their faces are just their jaw drop. And then it gets past the next person, and it's back to normal. And you're like, did I just see that?
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, the first I had to go back and watch a second time because I was like, there's stuff I obviously missed. I can't. This can't be because I'm not that sharp on the first watch. I'm trying to take it all in, all the information. So when I watched it a second time, there were some things that I caught. And you caught when it was in the mirror, right? That when they pan, when she's making the speech, everybody's like,
"Yep."
And it was. I think 3 3 and 4 a different director. I can't remember, but I know 4 was for sure. And the way it opens with just a single shot of her sitting in the back of her mobile library or bookstore or whatever it was, and the creepiness just starts there for me, and I was immediately captivated. And I remember to a point that you made earlier about this isn't a show where you can't be looking on your phone and watching at the same time. When I watched the first episode, that's what I was kind of doing. I was doing some work on my laptop, and I was like, well, because I didn't know. Again, I didn't know what it was about, so I'll just watch and see what I can pick up. And I immediately, within probably the first 5 minutes, I was off my laptop and fully immersed in this. And so the 4th episode opens with that kind of slow push-in shot of her, and I immediately was like, okay, this is going to be a good one. And when she picks up that book and there's like a fly flying around her and stuff, and I was like, okay, what is this? And it just draws you in. Nothing really has been said yet, but yet a lot of information has been passed on to the viewer. There's this book, you got to pay attention to it. Even the book is saying to her, pay attention to me. You're not going to ignore me. I'm going to get your attention, and you're going to read me. And as the episode goes along, you start to see her getting consumed by this book. And that was, again, it mirrored the watching experience of like, okay, I'm not looking at my phone. I'm looking at the time. I'm watching. And that was just that was the first kind of good thing about there's so many good things about this episode. It was fantastic, but that was the first good thing. And then along the way, the little things that tell you how much she's invested in this. It was great. What did you think about that episode?
Yeah, a lot of horror is get what what you're desiring, but not in the way that you expected it,
Yeah.
or that you're so blinded by what you want you don't see what's happening around you.
Yeah.
And that's totally what the episode was. Just all those little things, the fly, like you see a fly, you're like, something's going on here. Like you wouldn't normally have just a fly in a movie or TV scene. She's going through the box of books, and there's just a bunch of trash in it, and it's like, and she's like,
And a Stephen King book,
and a Stephen King book, and so that's one thing that made me laugh, because it's like, you go to little free libraries, people just put their trash in there. There's a bag of dog poop. There's all this random stuff, and it was great because, again, the little slices of humor are there. Her coworker, the older woman, who's just like critiquing her, and she's like, just be positive. Can you support me on this, please? Yeah. And she does that early enough that at the end you realize that she's seen it all. Yeah. She's just going along with it. And she's just like, you told me to be supportive. Yeah. I know you had this weird thing on your head. I know you were making this punch out of roadkill. Like, I helped you get the things. I couldn't, find most. Like, it was hard to find most of them. I didn't know what they were. But she was just like, you told me to be supportive, and that she was.
And that was, for me, that was kind of, that was perfect. I mean, that was a great way to bookend the episode, because at that point, she kind of snaps out of whatever trance she put herself in. It also calls back to the beginning when she starts making the punch, and the lady's like, you could maybe use a different headdress or something to that effect, or a different headwear or something. That's when she says, well, you just could be negative, be supportive, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so when she wakes up from her trance, you see that she's wearing this big deer thing headdress, and everything just starts to go. She starts to realize that they were drinking. I don't know exactly what was in the punch.
It was like roadkill punch.
Yeah, it was like blood was in it, or something to that effect. But it was the way to set it up to have her go to that wine party and have all the mean girls be mean to her. And that juxtaposition at the end, which is where everybody's so nice to her, and you're going, God. But those little bits that we talked about, the little when she's dancing and people are just quick cut to just it informs you that, like, okay, well, what's the payoff? And the payoff was huge. So it was just a great episode. It was really dark, but really. There was this thing of the character Patricia's portrayed as this kind of awkward outsider, but yet she's born on the island, or I think she was born on the island, and went through this traumatic experience that no one believes her about. And this episode kind of brings to light why no one believes her, and you kind of question, is she making this up? And so I don't know if you want to talk about that, but that was a great little added bonus, I think, to the episode.
Yeah, it's her backstory is that there was a slasher, right? Mm-hmm. There was a slasher movie, and he was going killing teens, and she says that she hid under her bed and got away from him, and she was like the survivor. Yeah. And then the people that were friends with the other girls are like, oh, you hid? That's great. That's great. Yeah. You know what? She hid in a dryer, my friend Tracy, and she got, heated to death, melted to death in the dryer. He turned it on. They just hate her so much because they feel like she's a poser and she was taking attention away from them. Yeah. Like you said, you don't know if she did or didn't. At this point, you can't really tell. It would make sense either way, and that's the beauty of the writing of it. Yeah, and it's great because, like we've been saying, you got to go back and kind of rewatch the episodes, and when the mean girls are at the bar, and they're like, "What's she wearing on her head?" And you're like, "Those bitches." Like, she's just wearing like a little headdress, like headband tiara thing. Like that's fine. They're just complete mean girls, and you're like, well, maybe they have a reason. Yeah. And now they definitely have a reason. Because they're like, she loaded up the punch, she spiked it.
And what a great callback. I think it was the first episode where she was like, well, I don't know if I ever told you my story. And she's like, yeah, you did. And he goes, I still sleep with my dresser in front of my door. And he's, and Tom gives her the line, which made me laugh out loud, which was, well, he was going after teenagers, and, you're in your 40s now. Just little things like that. There's little snippets like that, just peppered throughout every episode. And and when you're watching episode 4, you're kind of given this idea that she's finally kind of being accepted. But yeah, there's all this other stuff that comes to light after the fact at the end of the episode, which is great. I love the storytelling again of the episode, where it kind of just sets up this whole thing that, like you said, it makes you kind of go, oh man, why are these women so mean to her? Like, get over it. And it's like, it's this woman who says, you got to let it go, get over it, which is something that she's really not doing herself. And you're like, Jesus, these people are projecting. And then at the end, you kind of see, even at the end, when she saves everybody, she's like, she drugged us. And she could see her face being like, oh no, I'm back to square one.
I'm in a deeper hole than I was when I started this thing. Yeah.
And when Tom and Wick kind of pick her up after, because they show her after everything, they show her walking down the street like the hag. When Tom runs into the hag in episode 3 or 2, 3.
Yeah.
And hey, come with us. Maybe you can help us out. And you can kind of see this look on her face of like, okay, I'm in a safe spot. I'm in with these two guys that kind of suddenly all of a sudden need me. So she kind of gets. I can see it on her face that she kind of relaxes a little bit, and
well, she's getting accepted, right? She's found people that like want her.
Yeah.
He's like, why don't you come with us? You could be useful. And she's like,
yeah,
I could be useful. Like,
yeah.
And I feel like at the end there, it's almost like he's Sam Jackson, the Avengers, collecting heroes for the battle ahead.
Yeah.
He's got Stephen Root, he's got her, and I kind of feel like these people are the people that realize what's going on and kind of have observed it and lived through it this time, they're gonna be his team. And they're all gonna be vital. They're gonna be his Scooby Gang,
Yeah. That ending kind of took me by surprise, because I thought that priest was going to be something of a someone that they can lean on. And I think, going again with what you were saying about the horror tropes, is that kind of gets taken out from under you, and you're like, oh no. Because, the trope is like you go to the priest, and either the priest is part of it, or he's going to help you solve it, or he's going to be useless. Well, they take him right out, and spoiler alert, and it ends with the hanging of the priest. I guess he hung himself, or appears to be so right now that he hung
he was
himself.
reading something, right? So
yeah.
He got the bell he saw was all tied up. Like, how could this be? How could it have rung it? No one could have got through that.
Yeah.
And then he starts going through the documents of the church, and he finds the one that says, like, Padre, if you've read this, you're reading this, it's too late already, and I'm really sorry. And it's just describes it to him, like, what's going on. And I think he burns that, right?
Yeah.
I think he burns the letter. So they have really no hope there. There's no easy way to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
All they have is Stephen Root, who's a little bit grounded in knowing the lore, right? But he's still a little crazy.
Well, they also have Rosemary. She's the one that was like, "Hey, you told me to be supportive," because at the on the beginning of 3, she's the one that she's the first one that tells him about the hag, and then he goes and talks to Wick, and he confirms it. But she is into. I think that's why she drinks and smokes so much, is that she's just over it. She's probably been through a couple of these, maybe, I don't know, but
it's like, when's the last cycle of this? Like, it's kind of like, Pennywise. When was the last cycle of these things happening?
Yeah, and I think that, I think her and Wick are going to. Well, Wick is kind of the obvious kind of thing. I wouldn't be surprised if they take him out. I just spoiled it for myself. I don't know if you want to, but it's like he's only in 5 episodes. So it's like, and Rosemary too. So I don't know to what extent maybe they flash back even further. I read something or heard something, I can't remember what, but because this is kind of a throwback to, for me, when I first started watching it was obviously Midnight Mass.
Mm-hmm.
You have the island. That island was 30 miles off the coast. This one's 40 miles. And so they have, I heard that the, what's his name? Hamish, I can't remember his last name, but the priest from Midnight Mass is going to make a cameo as the founder of the islands, and they're going to go. So it makes me feel like they're going to go back and kind of give you some little backstory on the island in that way. And maybe that's why it's only going to be 5 episodes for Stephen Root and Rosemary Wick and Rosemary. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to how this plays out. I mean, because obviously it's just kicking off now, and you have 4 episodes. And you would think, oh man, I have to wait 4 episodes. But man, I'm telling you, the wait is worth it, and it's there's no filler, and it's just great. Even the way it's filmed is great. So yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, there's chef's kiss. There's awesome pieces to it, and I'm sure we're gonna talk more about it. If not, episode recaps every week, but as we go through the season, I'm sure we'll do more of these and talk about the next steps, because it's great. It's really good. I've recommended it to a couple people. They haven't been disappointed. Steve told 2 friends, and now I'll tell 2 friends, and they'll tell 2 friends,
and they'll tell 2.
And we'll have pretty soon everybody will be watching it. So I have a feeling, this is great. It's really good. If you don't have Apple TV, maybe wait till the season ends and then get your 30-day or 7-day subscription so you can watch this. There's so much good stuff on Apple TV. We're not sponsored, but as far as quality goes, I feel like that's where my money is for quality shows.
Yeah. And I also just saw the trailer for season 3 of Silo. So
nice.
That's coming soon. It didn't say when, it just said coming soon. So hopefully maybe in the summer or something. But yeah, Apple TV's where it's at, man. I mean, they have some good quality shows that I haven't even caught up on. Ted, what's that? Ted
Lasso.
Ted Lasso. I've seen the first 2 seasons. I haven't seen the 3rd, and I think they're making a 4th, or it's coming out soon. The 4th season's coming out soon. 4th and final season, I believe, and. So yeah, good quality shows on Apple TV.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on there. So that's one subscription I don't mind paying for this for sure. Yeah. Especially with Widow's Bay now, and we got another 6 episodes of that. I'm excited to see where that pans out. That's gonna get us through midsummer, which will be great. Yeah. And then we'll see what dives out at us after that. But let us know what you think. Have you seen Widow's Bay? Are you going to dive in after, hopefully you didn't hear us talk about it and spoil stuff for you. We told you at the beginning, dummy. You should have gone back and heeded our warning, like in a horror movie. So take a watch. If you haven't seen it, if you have, let us know your thoughts on it. Did we miss anything? What was your favorite part? What are the horror tropes that you saw that we didn't even talk about today? There's a lot of them out there. Hit us up on Insta, hit us up on YouTube, hit us up wherever you get your podcasts. We're around. We love to hear from you. And until next time, I'm Scott. This is Steve. This adventure is over.
Bye.